What I tell a lot of my clients is don't focus on just one or two cameras. If you can afford it, and even if it takes going to Temu and buying a $10 game camera,
Hmm.
uh, get a bunch of cameras and get them out there in the woods.
Hmm.
Um, because one camera's not going to do you. You can't pattern your deer herd with one or two cameras. Um, some cameras you're going to get deer on, some cameras are just going to be duds. But the more eyes that you've got out there, the better.
Absolutely.
Uh, So that if you're like a lot of people, you don't have time to deer hunt. I'm not, excuse me, you don't have time to scout, limited time to put into hunting, but you still want to hunt. The more eyes and that you have out there, the better.
Hmm.
Uh, but that being said, just like you said, you can't rely just on the game cameras because that's focusing on one little area right in front of that camera.
Hmm.
Those deer may be walking to the left or they may be walking to the right of that camera. There
Hmm.
may be a trail 20 foot away that you didn't notice that the deer are using, and they're never on that camera, but they're there. So, use the cameras to their advantage, but don't put all of your eggs in one basket as far as cameras go.
Yeah. I've heard a couple different people on podcasts talk about how they just, and I like to use cameras, so I'm
Oh, I
not
love
saying
cameras.
I'm
Oh,
not saying I'm not saying get rid of your cameras, but I've heard, and just to kind of insinuate the point you're talking about there about getting eyes on being in the woods and stuff. I've heard a couple people mention that they have found they have, I guess, reinvigorated or found a new passion or a new fire in themselves by just reducing the number of cameras that they have or not even paying attention to them and just going out and scouting or just going out and not basing their hunts off of what they're seeing on the cameras. Like they might be running them, right? But they're not basing their whole hunt on what they're getting
yeah.
on the cameras.
Yeah,
And like I'm
they're
getting a
not
little bit.
relying on the cameras as much as they used to, and that's a good thing. I mean, that goes back to using your woodmanship and using your this up here, what as far as deer,
Mhm.
uh, and not focusing so much on technology.
Yeah.
Um,
All animals want the same thing, right? All animals they want security, they want cover, they want food, they want water. If you have those, you are probably going to find animals in that area. Now it's just up to you to pinpoint good ambush spots. And if you do enough walking around, follow enough trails, you're going to find out how and where they're moving through. And you might have a couple more observation sits. I know a lot of people like, and I understand, like, listen, I have limited days. I just can't go out whenever I want and not without the anticipation of actually harvesting an animal because I got limited days. But there's something to be said just to do an observation hunt where you go out and you see or an observation sit where you see where animals are doing. And then you can move yourself into that ambush spot and be successful. I've done that a couple of times myself. I've changed the location just because of that. And the next morning went out and shot my first trophy, first deer that went on the wall.
well,